Have you ever noticed that the thing you're best at is usually the thing you think isn't worth much? I want you to think about that for a second because I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with women who have 20 years of experience, multiple promotions, degrees, awards, people constantly asking for their help, and then they look at me dead in the face and say,
I don't think I have anything people would pay me for.
Really? Let's test that. Imagine you got a phone call tomorrow morning. Your company is restructuring. Your position has been eliminated. Your laptop's getting shipped back. Your email shuts off by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, before the panic sets in, what's the very first thought that runs through your mind? For most women, it isn't, I'll figure something out. It's, I don't know what else I know how to do. That's the part that breaks my heart because it isn't true. It's just what we've been taught to believe. We've spent years connecting our value to our employer, our title, our department, our business card. So when they take that job away, it feels like they took our value away too. But those are two completely different things. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this video. By the end, you're going to know how to identify the skill you've probably been overlooking for years. The one that's been sitting right in front of you. The one someone would gladly pay you for without another certification, without another degree, and without starting from scratch. And make sure you stay with me until the end because I'm going to show you why the skill you think is the most ordinary, it's usually the one with the most income potential. Can I tell you something that I wish someone had told me years ago? Your job title has been lying to you. Not intentionally, but it's been hiding your value. See, your title tells people where you work. It doesn't tell people what you saw. And there's a huge difference between those two. Let's say you're a project manager. Is your skill really project management? Or are you the person who can walk into complete chaos, get 10 different personalities moving in the same direction, hit impossible deadlines, and somehow keep everyone from losing their minds? Those are two different things. One is a title, the other is a skill. Let's say you're in HR. Is your skill HR? Or are you the person who can navigate uncomfortable conversations, help people through career transitions, coach struggling leaders, and build trust in emotionally charged situations? Again, very different. Marketing, finance, education, healthcare, insurance, real estate, nonprofit. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Every industry teaches you to describe yourself by your title, but the market doesn't buy titles. The market buys outcomes. That's why when somebody leaves corporate and starts coaching, they suddenly make more money in a day than they did working a 40-hour week. It's not because they somehow became smarter. It's because they translated their expertise. See the difference here? And I think that's where so many women get stuck because we've been asking the wrong question. We've been asking ourselves,
what should I sell?
And that's the wrong question. Here's the better question. What problem have I become really, really good at solving? See how that's a completely different conversation? Here's something I want you to think about. Have you ever noticed there's always one person at work everybody goes to? Every office has one of these people. Maybe it's the person who can calm down the angry client. Maybe it's the person who can explain complicated things without making anyone feel stupid. Maybe it's the one who always fixes the presentation before the executive meeting. Maybe it's the person everyone calls when the project goes left. Maybe it's you. But because you've done it for years, it feels normal. It feels easy. It feels obvious. So you assume if it's easy for me, it can't be valuable. Who said that? Seriously, where did we learn that the things that come naturally to us must not be worth much? Because the market believes the exact opposite. Easy in this context usually means mastery. You've forgotten how difficult it was to learn because you've been doing it for so long. Think about driving. Remember when driving felt terrifying? You kept your hands at 10 and 2, the radio was off, and you drove in complete silence. Now you can drive home, have an entire conversation, listen to a podcast, and barely remember the route you took to get there. Did driving become less valuable? No, you became more skilled. The same thing has happened with your career. The thing you do without thinking is the thing someone else is desperately trying to figure out. That's why I always tell women, stop judging your skill based on how it feels. Judge it based on how many people struggle with what comes naturally to you. If you're taking notes, notes, I want you to write that one down, because that one shift alone could change the way you see yourself forever. Now, let me give you something practical, because I don't want this to stay motivational. I want you to leave this video with a completely different lens. Okay, so I call this the mirror test, and it's really simple, but it's incredibly revealing. Question number 1, what do people interrupt your day to ask you? Not what's your job description, I'm talking about in real life. The Slack messages, the text messages, the hallway conversations, the
"Can I pick your brain for a second?"
those interruptions. All of that is data. Question number 2, what do people thank you for? Not
"Thanks for all your hard work."
that's polite, but I'm talking about when people say things like, "You made that so much easier. I finally understand. You know what? I couldn't have done this without you." Pay attention to those moments. People tell you where your value lives all the time. Most of us just dismiss it though. Question number 3, what problem would your boss panic about if you quit your job tomorrow? Not because you're irreplaceable as a person, because none of us are, but because you solve something that nobody else solves quite the way you do. That's your clue. And here's my favorite question. What do you do so often that you've convinced yourself it doesn't count? Because I promise you, that's where the gold mine is. Now, before I go any further, I want to pause here because I know what's happening. Some of you are already thinking,
"Okay, I know what I'm good at, but nobody would pay me for that."
and I hear that every single week. And almost every single time, the issue isn't the skill. It's the way you're looking at the skill. You're looking at the task. The market is looking for the transformation. That is a huge difference. And in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how to make that shift. But before I do, I have a quick favor to ask. If this conversation has already shifted the way you're thinking, even just a little, I want you to drop the word income in the comments. I've put together a free training where I go much deeper into this whole idea of building a skills-based income stream. We talk about why structure matters so much more than credentials, why so many women overcomplicate getting started, and why coaching has become one of the fastest paths to turn what you already know into a second stream of income. If that sounds like something you've been looking for, just comment income down below and I'll make sure you get the details. Because I want you to stop wondering if you have something valuable and start seeing what has been right in front of you the whole time. And here's the best part. Up until this point, we've only answered the first question, and that is, how do you identify your skill? Next, I'm going to show you why knowing your skill still isn't enough and why this is the exact place where most women leave thousands of dollars on the table without realizing it. So you've identified your skill. Great, congratulations. But here's where most everyone gets stuck. They keep trying to sell the skill. Here's the thing. Nobody wakes up wanting to buy your skill. They want what your skill does for them. Think about it this way. Nobody buys a drill because they love drills. They buy a drill because they need a hole in the wall. Nobody hires a coach because they're excited to have another Zoom call on their calendar. They hire a coach because they want to get somewhere faster than they could get there by themselves. That's what people pay for. People are paying for progress, clarity, confidence, time, less frustration, better results, and transformation. And this is where I want you to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like someone who owns their income stream. Employees are rewarded for completing tasks. Business owners are rewarded for creating outcomes. Those are two completely different lenses. So instead of saying,
"I'm really good at presentations,"
ask yourself, what changes because I'm good at presentations? Maybe your clients become more confident speaking. Maybe they close more sales. Maybe they get promoted. Maybe they finally communicate their ideas without second guessing themselves. Now you're talking about something people value, because people rarely buy information anymore. They buy a better version of themselves. Can I challenge another belief? And I'm going to warn you, this one might sting a little. I believe we've spent way too many years proving ourselves inside of corporate that we've forgotten something really important. Your employer has been making money from your skills this entire time. Think about that. Every meeting, every strategy session, every problem you solve, every relationship you built, every decision you influence, your skills have been creating value for years. Someone has been getting paid because of what you know how to do. So why does it suddenly feel uncomfortable when that someone becomes you? Why does your confidence suddenly disappear disappear? Why do we start asking ourselves,
who am I to charge for this?
Instead of asking,
why have I been giving this away for so long?
That's a different conversation. And I think it's one we need to have more often, because confidence doesn't magically show up after another certification. It usually shows up after you finally recognize the value you've been creating all along. Here's something else that changed everything for me. People don't hire coaches because coaches know everything. They hire coaches because coaches know something they don't. Somewhere along the way, we decided expertise meant knowing everything. It doesn't. It means knowing more than the person you're helping. If you've walked a path, organized what you've learned, and can help someone avoid unnecessary mistakes, you're already creating value. Think about every mentor you've ever had. Were they perfect? No. Were they 10 steps ahead of you? Probably. And that's all they needed to be. The internet has convinced us we have to become celebrities before we can become coaches. And I don't know where that idea came from, but I do know it has stopped thousands of incredibly talented women from ever getting started. Your future clients aren't looking for the most famous person on the internet. They're looking for someone who understands the problem they're living through right now today. They're looking for someone who makes them feel seen. Someone who says,
I know exactly where you are because I've been there too.
So at this point, a lot of women start asking,
so what do I do with this skill?
And the answer is there are a lot of options. You could freelance, you could consult, build an agency, create digital products, and all of those are legitimate businesses. But if you're working a full-time job, raising a family, taking care of parents, and trying to have something that resembles a life, coaching is one of the simplest places to start. Why? Because you don't need inventory, you don't need employees, don't need a warehouse, you don't need to spend months creating a course before you've ever worked with a single client. With coaching, you start with what you already know. You package that into a clear transformation, you help one person, then you help another one, then another one. And that's why I love coaching as a second income stream. Not because it's trendy, because it's practical, because it meets women where they already are, and because your existing skills become the whole foundation of your business. That's a completely different starting point than trying to invent something from scratch. Now I want to talk about something that most people in this space don't talk about. Building another income stream isn't just about making more money. Sure, the money is the visible outcome, but options are the invisible outcome. And it's the options that will change everything for you. Imagine walking into work knowing that if something happened, you wouldn't be starting over. Imagine negotiating your salary without feeling desperate. Imagine saying no to your toxic boss. Imagine taking a vacation without wondering if one unexpected expense is going to throw everything off. Imagine getting laid off, and instead of asking,
what am I going to do?
You're asking,
okay, which offer am I going to lean into first?
Can you feel the difference in this? I'm talking about the same person, same skills, but a completely different level of peace. That's why I say multiple streams of income aren't a luxury anymore. They're safety, they're leverage, they're freedom. And let's be clear, multiple streams of income don't eliminate uncertainty, but they do give you options when that uncertainty shows up. And here's something else I hope you'll remember long after this video ends. The market doesn't reward the woman with the most potential. It rewards the woman who decides to package her potential. There are brilliant women sitting in meetings right now making six figures for someone else who still don't believe anyone would pay them outside of the system of employment. And it's not because they lack value, it's because they've never translated it. That right there is where the work is in all of this. So if you've been watching this thinking,
I know I have something, I just don't know how to turn it into an offer.
That's exactly why I created 2K in 2 hours, because I got tired of watching talented women spend 6 months researching, brainstorming, watching another YouTube video, downloading another free checklist, only to end up exactly where they started. Inside 2K in 2 hours, I walk you through identifying your most profitable skill, packaging it into a coaching offer, pricing it, and getting it in front of people without spending months overthinking every single decision. Here's the thing, momentum builds confidence, not the other way around. You'll never think your way into believing you're ready. You build your way there. So if you're ready, I'd love to help you do exactly that. Learn more about 2K in 2 hours by visiting my website at herincomeedit.com/2K, or just click the link down in the description. Here's the thing about all this. Someone right now is making money. Someone right now is teaching something that you already know. Let me say that again. Someone is making money from the skills that you already have. The difference here isn't intelligence, it isn't experience, and it's not credentials either. The difference is they stopped treating their skills like part of their job and started treating them like an asset. Your skills were never just how you earned a paycheck. They're your backup plan, your leverage. Your skills are your next income stream. And once you see that, you'll never look at your career the same way again. Because the bottom line is this, y'all. One paycheck built your career, but one skill can build your freedom. If you're new here, my name is Nick Scott, and I help women turn their existing skills into coaching income, digital products, and online businesses. If you like this video, I want you to watch this one next because it takes this conversation one step further and shows you why the skills you've been overlooking may be the very thing that changes your financial future. Okay? I'll see you in the next video.